everybody, Josh12 back here again with another video, and I'm here to give you my official review for Arrow Season 4, Episode 9, titled Dark Waters. Now, of course, if you haven't seen this episode, please go check it out because this review may contain spoilers. But that being said, let's get into this Arrow mid-season finale. Now, first off, let's put it out there. I did my Flash review earlier today, and I compared that mid-season finale to the previous one of Season 1 of The Flash. And to my surprise, the Season 2 mid-season finale does not compare to the previous one. I feel like the man in the yellow suit was far superior, my subjective opinion. Let me know what yours are. But just like I did for The Flash, I'm going to do so as well here. Now, how does Dark Waters fare off against the mid-season finale of Season 3? Now, it's a hard question to answer because it's a double-edged sword. I don't like Season 3. I've made that publicly known all throughout my Arrow reviews, so of course if you've been listening and following along this far, then you would know that obviously I don't give a shit about Arrow Season 3. I didn't really like it. I felt like it was a gigantic waste of time, and it was just a bitch slap to the hardcore Arrow fan base who have been following since Season 1. But that being said, Season 4 has been pretty good thus far. At least a little better than Season 3. But the big thing is that this mid-season finale teased the idea of a main character dying. Now, they did the same thing last year where they had Oliver, spoilers, in the mid-season finale. Oliver went off to Nanda Parbat. He faced off against Ra's al Ghul. They had this really cool Batman-esque sword fight. And then Ra's al Ghul, spoilers, defeated Oliver, stabbed him in the chest with a sword, and then pushed him off a cliff. So, that was one hell of a way to end the season, or at least the halfway point of the season of that specific year, which was last year. This year, however, I feel like Arrow likes to just kill off a lot of characters, but for some reason, over the course of Season 3 and Season 4, they really haven't had the edge, or the cojones, if you will, to really kill off a legitimate main character. Season 1, they killed off Tommy. Season 2, they killed off Mora. Season 3, they killed off Sarah, but then the Lazarus Pit happened, and now she's not dead anymore. And they also killed Thea, but because of Lazarus Pit, she's not dead anymore. And then Oliver kind of died, sort of. I mean, like, he fell on a rock, and I guess the snow protected him. I don't know. It was stupid. But regardless of any of that, when it comes to these finale-esque kind of episodes with this show, you would expect that someone major has to die, or at least someone somewhat major. Now, as we all know, they teased in the beginning of the season that someone would die, and they would end up in a grave. We saw that in the first episode, the premiere, if you will, of this season, and we've all been speculating. Is it Diggle? Is it Captain Lance? Is it Felicity? I personally have been stating that I personally think it would be Felicity, and does that come true in this episode? Well, you just have to find out. Well, that being said, the overall episode starts off pretty decent and strong. I personally like the idea of Oliver continuing to, I guess, destroy his previous image of Star City and continue to show off that he's more than just the playboy, former, millionaire, freaking kid who was, trust fund kid who freaking got away with everything and was just an asshole to everybody and just did nothing but have parties and sleep with women and all that kind of crazy stuff. Now that he's running for mayor, he's more of a legitimate kind of a guy, not only in his after hours moments, but of course in the daylight. And I really like that. I really appreciate this new version of Oliver Queen. I think it's an interesting version for Arrow fans. The only thing that I have a gripe with when it comes to the opening sequence was the drone. Now, granted, Damien Darhk and Oliver did have a previous moment together at a party prior to the crossover episodes that they need the Bay. Hive, and specifically Damien Darhk, need the Bay for their specific, kind of plans, if you will. We don't know what those plans exactly are. We don't know the logistics, but we do know that Damien Darhk and Hive do have plans to destroy Star City somehow with the Bay. Now, Oliver, being the guy that he is, doesn't want that to happen, so obviously he, creates this fundraiser, he has this community, come in and clean up the bay, does a whole bunch of really cool, interesting stuff. Very nice thing for the kids and the public image of Oliver Queen, and, rest of Team Arrow kind of pitches in, well, kind of, sort of. I mean, like, Felicity teaches them some science shit, and Diggle just stands there, and Thea just hangs out with her boy toy, whatever his name is. And that's pretty much it. But then the drone comes in, and that's where I get a gigantic, like, I feel you just don't know how to accomplish these kind of scenes. Now, what I mean by that is that scene looked cool. It was great. I feel like the overall outcome of this scene was awesome and interesting. The fact that Oliver felt so bad about the carnage that could have been caused if kids were actually hurt, and the travesty that that kind of act could happen if Damien Darhk actually shot down kids. It's a very interesting just point of view, and I like that. But the drone moment just felt like it kind of took you out of the episode, where it's just, I know it's TV and I know it's CW and all that kind of jazz, but we know what drones can do. Regardless of the superhero element of the show, we know what drones can do. I've seen drones destroy freaking buildings and kill tons of freaking people on video. That's public knowledge. It's out there. You can look at it, see what these freaking machines cross over and just destroy shit over, in the Middle East. I've seen those videos. It's crazy what those things could do. But whenever something gets shot in Arrow, it's almost like nothing ever gets affected. And when it does, it looks very half-assed. And that's like my main problem with it. I feel like if you're going to continue to do drones, at least make it blow up some shit. I mean, like, it looked like pellets hitting the fucking sand. I don't know. That was just my only gripe with it. It was an interesting opening. I liked the overall outcome. I just didn't like that drone sequence. But moving off of that and transitioning into the main focus of the episode, which is Damien Darhk versus Oliver Queen. After the travesty of the opening, Oliver decides to out Damien Darhk as the main villain of Star City, telling everyone to take their city back from this Damien Darhk and his associates that are known as the Ghosts, who work for Hive, and all that kind of, interesting bullshit that he's kind of throwing out there in the public eye, which I have a 50-50 thing about. I feel like that was a really interesting move as Oliver Queen the person, but as the Arrow, or the Green Arrow, if you will, it just felt like kind of and I hate to use the vocabulary, but kind of a pussy way to go. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you're the Green Arrow. You're the Emerald Archer. I mean, granted, no one has called you that yet, but that's what you are. Why are you taking this route to take out Damien Darhk? I mean, for one, he's not really that much of a public figure, and two, he has mystical freaking powers. What are the fucking citizens of Star City have to accomplish in trying to take out that kind of a fucking power? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, come on. I don't know. I felt like it was an interesting way to go with outing Damien Darhk as the main villain, but it also didn't make that much sense. I mean, like, it made sense when you did it to Slade Wilson back in Season 2, but here, when you have a guy who has mystical powers and can suck the life out of people just by touching them, and has the Force all of a sudden, if you've seen this episode, you know what I mean. It just didn't make that much sense. But moving off of that, Damien Darhk obviously retaliates. Oliver is having this party. A whole bunch of things are going down. Obviously, Felicity is having her own problems and issues with her relationship with Oliver. Felicity's mom is back in town. I don't know why. I mean, granted, I know why. She's freaking dating Captain Lance, but who really gives a shit about that? And there's a wedding band. Who the fuck knows? Engagement ring. Someone needs to get engaged. Does someone get engaged? We're going to have to find out at the end of this review, but overall, that was pretty badass. Let's just put it out there. The freaking opening to Damien Darhk entering the party that Oliver's having for his campaign run and for the rest of the city was phenomenal. I really liked it. Of course, it's not as epic or awesome as like the Dark Knight Joker, party scene, but let's put it out there. It was really cool to see Damien Darhk just use the Force and fuck up cops and then, just bitch slap Oliver Queen, the person, not alone the Green Arrow, but the person, just shove him away like he's nothing and then take away his peeps. That was freaking cool and badass. Neil does a phenomenal job as Damien Darhk. That's like the best part about this mid-season finale. He's such an interesting and fun villain that you just love to see him go to work. And I know he's kind of like overpowered in the sense of the Arrow reality, but it just feels so good to see him like just do shit. It's just like you're not supposed to root for the bad guy, but this bad guy is freaking cool and he's interesting and he has an awesome actor portraying and giving him presence, and I like that. But moving off of that, Damien Dark has Felicity, Diggle, Thea, everyone's going crazy. Oliver, along with Laurel, and of course Malcolm Merlyn comes in the whole picture. Lance have to find a way to get back Team Green Arrow before they get killed by Damien Dark. A whole bunch of weird shit starts to go down. Crazy things are happening. Damien Dark wants Oliver to get out of the way so he can use the Bay, and as insurance he uses Team Green Arrow, which of course consists of Felicity, Thea, and Diggle. They end up almost getting killed, which of course I'm pretty sure everyone saw in the teasers. Obviously that does not happen. However, at the end of this, because of course, let's face it, this is the Christmas episode. Obviously, at some point there has to be some holiday cheer. Of course, Team Arrow gets away. Let's face facts. It's going to happen. It's the CW. They're not going to all just die in one freaking episode. That would be epic, and that would be ballsy, but that's just not going to happen. So, of course, they all get away with the help of Malcolm Merlyn, who I might add, John Barrowman, you kicked ass. I mean, granted, ever since you became the new Ra's al Ghul, I've been really having a vendetta against the guy. More or less the character, not the actual actor, because, but man, was he badass in this episode. He freaking kicked ass. I mean, I'm just saying, his entrance, when he just walks right into the freaking Arrow cave and just takes down Lance, and then, portrays the Arrow, Green Arrow rather, and fights Damien Dark, that was some really badass stuff. I mean, granted, he's an asshole, and he has Vandal Savage for some reason that I guess we'll find out next year, but that was fucking badass. But that being thrown aside, with everything being thrown aside, the big question, does someone die? Does someone get married? What happens to Team Green Arrow from here on out? Well, yes, no, and I don't fucking know. Those are my answers for those questions. Number one, does someone get married? Of course. Fucking Oliver proposes in front of all of Star City, and of course the rest of Team Green Arrow, that he proposes to Felicity. They're engaged. They're gonna get married. Hallelujah, whatever. Okay, good stuff. Very interesting way to try and end this, but of course, being the, I guess, half in, half out kind of writers that the CW has when it comes to Arrow, they decide to try and formulate a happy ending, but also an open ending that's kind of sad at the same time, to make you think, like, is this going to happen? Kind of similar to how they did in the mid-season finale of last season. Now, what do I mean by that is, does someone die? Kinda, I guess? I don't know. I mean, essentially, as Felicity and Oliver leave after proposing in front of the entire world, basically, and as Damien Dark continues to, I guess, celebrate Christmas with his new formed family that we just realized is a thing, apparently, ghosts hijack the freaking limo, shoot down Oliver and Felicity, or for some reason they kind of get away, but then Felicity seems that she's been shot down. Oliver is holding her, and that's pretty much the end of the mid-season finale. Now, was that a great ending? Not really. I feel like, it felt way too open-ended, and it also felt like all they're doing is trying to scare all the hardcore Felicity, and more importantly, the Olicity fans, as to thinking that she's dead. Because the first thing that continued to rush into my mind, and I was speaking out loud as the mid-season finale was, freaking premiering, you could tell that she's not dead. She's not gonna die. Now, granted, does that mean, am I saying that because I don't want her to die? Not really. I mean, I would have no qualms if Felicity died, especially if it was done well. Unfortunately, I don't get the feeling that she is the one who's going to die in the way they kind of set it up, and also how they're going to premiere the first episode of the part 2 of season 4. So, I get the feeling that they're not going to kill off Felicity right off the bat, but I feel like it was kind of a cop-out. I mean, I know we live in this world where in The Walking Dead, Glenn dies, but then comes back to life for some bullshit, idiotic reason, and I know all the hardcore fans are going to hate me for saying that, but it's true, it was stupid. does someone really need to justify and defend stupid writing? I don't know. And that's kind of being harsh. I don't mean to be that harsh when it comes to that ending. I'm just saying that I don't like the idea of a character allegedly dying and not being dead. Like, if you're gonna kill off a character, kill them off. We don't have to play games here. I mean, like, that's why I like the previous seasons, where they actually killed people. Last season, you couldn't really kill anybody legitimately who was a main character because you had the Lazarus Pit. But with Season 4, now that the Lazarus Pit has been destroyed, allegedly by Nyssa Al Ghul, it's kind of open-ended as to whether anybody could survive anything. You know, so does this mean that if Felicity survives, she'll end up dying later? Or does this mean she'll just never die and she'll just come back? She'll have to be on rest time for the remainder of the season? I don't know. For me personally, I don't buy that she's dead. And if she is, then I guess the Arrow writers freaking grew a pack and just said, like, you know what? We know you love her. We know you all listening fans love this season. But you know what? Here you go. We just killed off a main character. Boom! Drop the mic. I doubt that that's what they're going to do. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see in January, which is going to be a pain in the ass to wait for. But that being said, comment below. Let me know what you personally think. If I had to give my final verdict for the mid-season finale of Season 4 of Arrow, I give it a solid 7.5. It was a pretty decent episode. It was very, like, cliche and typical, and I could pretty much, you know, as the episode was premiering, I can tell, like, everything that was going to happen as it was going. It was kind of, like, very paint by numbers, but it was still a pretty good episode. It's an enjoyable episode to watch if you're an Arrow fan. Kind of similar to the Flash mid-season finale that we got this week. It's very much just decent episodes, not the greatest, but decent episodes. I feel like the previous mid-season finales for Arrow Season 3 and Flash Season 1 were superior, but that's just my subjective opinion. Let me know what you personally think. What did you think about the mid-season finale, and do you think Felicity is actually dead or not? Let me know your thoughts and speculations in the comment section below. But that being said, I'll see you guys in January. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jonch12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been Jonch12.